Ooh, so now we are live.
And I'm here, barely. I made it.
Came sliding into home plate at the last possible second.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Unprepared, late.
No notes, no files, no nothing. We're just going to wing it again.
Well, we do have a few notes this week.
Yeah, a little bit.
Been a little bit going on.
Yeah, a little bit. I just got a fun email from one of our watchers who I won't I won't name, I guess, but anyway, said I just wanted to get into my car and drive up there and slap that CPA blankety blank in the face when he poked at the colonel.
I got a similar message as well from somebody else that they took a little offense to some of the words that were spoken at the council meeting today.
Yeah, well,
I think they said insulting.
Insulting, yeah. I don't know. I guess insulting is the right word, but I was trying to think of something else. Um, I just am having one of those nights. So what would be the right intimidating? And not that the colonel was intimidated by Queen David, but intimidating to other potential people that may want to attend the meetings or speak up or whatever.
I think the term that would be used if someone was trying to describe it legally would be his intent to put a chilling effect on the public speaking.
Yes, that's a very good word. Chilling. That's what I was trying to think of.
And he's good at that.
Yes, he is. And he did it while claiming that he wasn't doing that. Oh, and he gave us a, soliloquy on the First Amendment. So,
well, it's an interesting thing. We're going to take a little walk in time. Thanks to one of our local journalists who may drop in on the show to kind of weigh in on today's council meeting and some of the historical chilling, you might say. But
that would be interesting. Sounds fun.
But besides that, what else are we going to talk about?
I really don't know. I mean, maybe a quick review of the runoff elections and whatnot. There's not a whole lot to talk about this week, I guess.
Well, I would beg to differ. I think Caddo Parish,
look, yeah.
Last week we had election integrity on the thing, and guess what? You fixing to have election integrity in Caddo Parish. We're going to be, I bet you it's going to be on national news before it's said and done.
Will definitely be interesting. For those of you that don't know, it was the sheriff's race over there was separated by one vote. So, of course, I think that generates an automatic recount or however that works, but literally separated by one vote. So this is going to be fun to see which way, if any, that the voting tabulations swing.
There's no way there's not going to be a fight by both sides and going through it. And I've already got a little bit of inside ball on maybe what one of the arguments is going to be.
Oh, really? I wonder if there'll be a lawsuit generated from this.
I'm confident it's going to go to court. You can take it to the bank.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and do our little countdown and intro, and we'll come back and discuss all that and whatever else we feel like talking about. What do you say, Mr. Lowry?
Oh, yeah. Hey, don't forget, there's a judges race coming up. Do you know everybody in Bossier? Y'all know that?
Oh, now you mentioned something about that when we were talking earlier. So what is the deal with that?
We'll have to talk about it, and you have to come back and watch after that. After the break.
Intriguing. We will be back. Folks, y'all know the drill. We'll be back in about 3 minutes or so. That gives you time to help share and tag and all that kind of good stuff, as well as grab you some popcorn and a stiff drink. We'll be right back.
Knew a lot of the back office on the politicians that they think walk on water, they would be shocked. There's an old wound from a knife in my back that just is giving me heck lately, and it's just really irritating. So I have to kind of wiggle around a little bit.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
And I titled it "A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys."
Just, they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
Some Republicans as well believe that government has the answers. And let me tell y'all something. I don't know anything government does well. Nothing.
And aren't there laws that say that you have public meetings so that the public can have accountability of their elected officials?
They're making a little bit of progress, but I would definitely have to give the race to Caddo Parish right now.
I don't know. Is there anybody from Plain Dealing watching, you think?
As a member of the media, I'm very concerned about what I've just heard.
Did you or did you not requisition some money to fight against this or for it?
We hired a lobbyist, and it cost us $15,000. We were opposed to HB 630.
So for this week, folks, the cockroach of the week, according to Bossier Watch and Duke Lowry and Rex Moncrief, is
Raymond Croon's legislative assistant, Allie Feaster Smith. Thank you, Allie. Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse. No way. It was not David. You know it wasn't David Montgomery. David ain't going to jump off in there with Chris. He ain't going to do it. He'd as soon spit on him as he would even look at him. Man, this is a Mickey D's Krispy Kreme week. Didn't you know? Who's paying y'all? And if you're driving on the roads, are you safe?
It's on the road, yeah.
Well, I know you're on the road, but I mean, is this all folks coming from the border down there?
Yeah, it's going to border. It's actually going to Mexico, the buses.
Doesn't mean they interpret it the same way that I do. For instance, the Second Amendment. I take it very literally. That's been interpreted different ways in the court system all the way up to SCOTUS. Yeah, that's only going to cause more division that he claims he doesn't want to cause. And it's only going to cause more suspicion. We're still right now combined on both pages and YouTube at 264 people watching. That is amazing, folks. Coleman Project, the Walker Place deal, through conscious, shocking action. The purpose of their actions was to stop plaintiffs, being the Earl Coleman and associated groups not, from developing Walker Place. But here's the key thing, which in turn would enrich sitting city council members Scott Irwin and David Montgomery Jr.
You hit the button? Does that mean that people are seeing us sitting here talking and chatting?
In theory, it's an every week thing. We got to double check and make sure it's like a miracle any of this actually works. This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by the Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 25 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Julie Ferris. Transact Card. Unleash the power of your spending with Z-Bucks. Contact Renee Hall. Smarter Geek. Making technology easier. And folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. And, well, again, 181 plus shows later, here we are.
I'm like a chipmunk. I was trying to shotgun some food in the break there.
Oh, like a chipmunk, squirrel, I don't know. Have you ever seen any chipmunks around here? I don't know if we have any this far south.
I don't know about no chipmunks. That may be a little bit of a stretch there.
Yeah, I've seen some flying squirrels. We had some in our yard, but not, actual chipmunks. So.
Yeah, no go on the chipmunks. I don't know about that. Maybe in Plain Dealing.
Maybe they've got everything else: bears, cougars. Oh my!
So, are we going to officially try to turn this into a hunting show?
Slowly but surely, we're evolving it into a hunting show and fishing. But that's only because I'm running out of stuff to talk about politically. I don't know. I'm just kind of on autopilot this week.
Running out of stuff? Are you kidding me?
Well, last week I said I planned to actually take a whole week off from work. And of course, that didn't happen.
Yeah, what's up with that?
These these people just keep having their computers mess up and keep calling me and need help, and I have a hard time telling people no, I won't help them. So it just keeps on.
Well,
It's like a never-ending supply of slow but steady business.
I hear you. Okay, well, keep talking because I am trying to.
I am just rambling on. Let's start off with saying hello to some folks. So let's see. We got Paul Black, Michael Ferris, Christopher James Norris, Larry James Hawkins. Who else? Ann Bolton Denny is here. Thomas Shea, Robbie Gilbert, and lots of other folks. Cliff Smith. Hello to everybody. If I didn't call your name out, don't be offended. There's lots of folks commenting already, so that's a good thing. And looks like our viewer count is up. We were talking about during the countdown there that our viewer count was off last week. It was the weirdest thing. I mean, I can't imagine what we talked about last week that would cause Facebook to throttle us back, but it got down to like the count showed like 4 people watching on Facebook and about 30 something on YouTube. And then eventually by Wednesday about noon, we were up over 1,000 views on Facebook. So I don't know. It was just a weird thing.
Well, we didn't talk about the January 6th tapes being released by our walk on water, Speaker of the House. And hey, you got to give him credit. He did it. We didn't talk about that. So it wasn't that. We didn't talk about more evidence that the jab was all BS. We didn't talk about any of that. What else? Election integrity. Oh, that's the other big one. We were kind of talking somewhat about that stuff, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And, I think we kind of got off on a little tangent. I don't know. I'm not the conspiracy theorist type and, don't put my tinfoil hat on, but I don't know, something was weird with the viewer count, but that's okay. We're still here this week too.
Yeah, well, I see the black helicopters. I mean, I am the conspiracy theorist. I mean, I think the machines are fixed in some places or whatever. I believe it. But
with AI, maybe the Terminator scenario is already
prove
taken.
to me it's not. Prove to me that the machines are not connected to the internet.
Well, that's like
open it up and let's look inside.
That's like proving there's a black hole or not.
Well, can I open it up and look inside and just see for myself?
In theory, black holes are real, and we've kind of seen them through the telescopes, but we've never actually been to one, so who knows? Anyway.
I just want to know, can I look to see if there's a modem inside of the CPU that we're all voting on? I just want to know, can I look?
Well, I can. Yes, actually you can. Did you know that?
Really? I did not know that. I got to hear this. Because ain't nobody else been able to look inside.
No, the voting now I can tell you with absolute certainty because, blah, 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 I was on the board of election supervisors. But when we go out and survey the machine, not survey, that's not the right word, but when we go out and, we're inventorying the machines, well, I don't do it anymore. Over on Viking Drive, you can go out there.
You're talking about the old DRE machines, the old machines.
I'm not finished yet.
You're trying to pull that John Milkovich thing on me is what you're trying to do.
Hold on. I'm not finished yet. So those machines, yes, you can go out there. Now, I assume the new ones, I don't know if they have to open the side panel on the new ones. I don't know anything about the new machines. So technically on the old ones, you can go out there and visually inspect the machines or be a part of that process. Yes, you can.
Yeah, but the new ones, contractually, you can't. And I would love Nancy Landry to come over here on the show and answer that question. But that'll probably never happen.
Nancy Landry, who is that?
Oh, just the new Secretary of State, Kyle Ardoin 2.0.
Now, look, we got to give Kyle a little credit. He did come on the show, and, it was a pretty good interview. I mean,
he did. He was fun. He was fun, but we never really got around to the hardcore questions and nitty gritty details. We were trying to kind of build up to it, and and we were friendly to him and work into those questions, and we got some good ones in.
Yeah.
But we didn't get to the heart of it. Is if you were the Secretary of State, what I would have liked to have said to him is said, Kyle, How can you confirm to me for a fact that the circuit boards of the machines that you're, having people early vote on, how can you confirm to me that there's no modem in them? How can you do it?
Right. Well, technically, now I can tell you with absolute certainty they don't have a modem in them, because that would entail or some modulating and demodulating of signals, from digital to analog, and that's not happening. So, they won't have a modem in them, but they might have a network card.
Okay, let me share my screen here.
Hate to get you on a technicality, but no modem.
Okay, you're probably right technically on a modem. That's me talking old school. But what about this?
What about that?
What about that little white thing there?
Well, would that be a USB Wi-Fi dongle or
a
whatever?
little dongle? Could that not be somewhere around?
Well, it could, but not on the old machines because they don't have USB ports, as best I can remember.
That's right, John. Not on the old machines, but
not on the old machines. Being very careful in how I word this.
We're getting rid of all the old machines. Remember, we're getting all the new fancy dancy stuff that's not connected to the interstate. The internet that all the interstates are doing. But then in different places, they're finding that they are.
Yeah. Well, they've got to transmit that data somehow. Now, at least the old machines, they would transmit the data securely over a VPN tunnel or whatever they had from each courthouse down south. So arguably, and the numbers had to match from what we had in the courthouse to what the Secretary of State received. And so if those numbers were off, you had a little check and balance there. But the new machines are still going to be closed source proprietary software. There's no way to inspect the code. There's no way to audit that code whatsoever because it's proprietary and they will try to sue your pants off.
That's right. And the same as if that image right there, if that was the voting machine and I wanted to open it up and that dongle wasn't sitting there in a USB port, but I wanted to open it up to make sure that there wasn't a USB port on the inside with that dongle inside of it, you know what? I couldn't do it.
Yes, and our good friend Weston Marriott, he got it right. He said USB network dongle could be a Robert Wright. That would not be a SIM card. I mean, I guess they could put a SIM card in them, but then that would entail cellular, and that's a whole other conversation. Anyway.
And my wife brings me to the most important point that I wanted to get to all of this. It takes us weeks. Argentina, they did it paper ballot and hand counted, and they had a whole country had it done in a day.
They probably just rounded their numbers. It's Argentina.
Yeah, but
I think we should do the whole Iraq thing. Do you remember in Iraq when they, or was it Iraq or Afghanistan, or actually maybe both, when they all had the purple thumbs?
I'm in. I'll put my
I'm in for it too.
I'm in.
I want everybody to have a purple stained thumb.
I will sign my name square across the middle of my ballot so that we do an audit. I'll be able to know that it was my vote. Got no fear. But that brings us to Shreveport and this 1 vote margin of Whitehorn and Nicholson, right?
Yes, that was very interesting. So I don't have the number pulled up right in front of me, but it was literally separated by 1 vote. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, because think about it. If you're Whitehorn or you're Nicholson, you're going to challenge. You're going to try to find a vote.
Sure.
You're going to do it. And the question is how are you going to do that? Well, the first thing they'll automatically, recount. So they're
but let's talk about what a recount actually entails. And again, I don't put my tinfoil hat on with all this stuff, but there is a point here that they can't go back and recount because they don't print out any confirmation ballots or whatever. They're just retabulating the machines, I guess.
Well, so with the machines, they will, like the old DRE machines. I mean, yeah, they're basically going to spit the same numbers out. I will be shocked to find any difference in that vote count. But where I suspect you're probably going to see and you're probably going to have some differences is in the mail ballots. And here's where, or in the absentee ballots. And here's where things are going to get a little tricky. So the process, Rex, how does that go? You've been up there. How does it go with, and most people watching, you know, y'all may not have ever participated in this, but I have. I know Rex has. How does that go, Rex? You know, if I get an absentee ballot, when it goes up there, how does that process work?
Well, let's see. For the absentee ballots, so they come in and they will have a kind of an envelope deal on them. They'll obviously have the name and address. And then those ballots, to maintain some kind of secrecy of them, those ballots get pulled off of there. And I'm trying to remember exactly what they do with the paper, because there is paper there on the absentee. Well, let's see. No, I'm talking about the mail-in ballots.
Yeah. So they've got a witness signature. Remember,
Yes.
they've got the signature of the voter, and then they have to have a witness signature on there, right?
Yes. And, you know, sometimes the signatures aren't valid. Sometimes they'll forget the signatures and those get rejected. So I don't know if they're going to scrutinize them a little more closely or how they're going to do that. It's no telling. It's Caddo Parish.
Well, and here's the thing. Now I'm going to refresh your memory here because it sounds like it's a little old on your mind there. So when you have to have that original signature, it's not on the actual ballot itself, right?
Well, correct. It's on the I'm calling it the envelope, but yeah, it's on the envelope, so it's not technically on the ballot itself. Once that ballot has been accepted,
right,
then that's it.
The ballot is taken out of that envelope.
Separated from it. Yes,
it's separated and put into the pile.
Right.
Then they take those ballots, they run them through one of the electronic fraud machines to count whatever outcome the government wants. They put it through there and they spit it out on the internet so that the other part of the government can check the numbers and make sure it's what they want. And if they don't like it, they can change it and then send the number back through with a different count.
Yeah, that's the process.
But the original envelopes with the voter signature and the witness signature, that's what I want to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
They can't just throw those away. They have to keep those.
They have to keep those, yeah.
And they have to keep those in the event that they have a contested election, like what you're going to have right here. So what would you say, or what would y'all say, if allegedly, while ballot harvesting is illegal in Louisiana, what would you say if there was allegedly ballot harvesting potentially in Caddo Parish in this race in nursing homes?
Well, hey, I hate to say it, but we kind of saw something similar to that happen in DeSoto.
Well, I think there's a lot of ballots that go through some nursing homes, but that flow in and out. But what I would say is I did not know this, but someone passed on to me that, did you know that a nursing home resident, that apparently you have to have a family signature, you know, to a family member signature to go along with the signature of the nursing home resident for that vote?
I did not, or at least I don't remember that.
Well, I didn't know that, and that may not be correct, but that is what I was told is actually has to be done.
Well, I think now I could be incorrect because I've slept and it's been a couple of years since then, but I'm not sure that it has to be a family member. I think it has to be just a witness, because how would you verify if they're a family member, and what, you know, how close of a relative or family member would they have to be?
Well, I agree, but I'm just telling you that's what I was told, and what I was told was that over this deal with the nursing home thing, that there is litigation. It's forthcoming soon, very soon.
I wouldn't doubt that. Oh, so, the official count, Whitehorn received 21,621 votes. Nicholson had 21,620.
But here's the thing. If they did find some problems on those ballots, how are they going to know which ballot it was?
Yeah, because as best I recall, there's not a serial number or any identifying way to match them back up, because that would remove the anonymity of the voting process.
Bingo, they're mixed into the pile.
Right.
So now all of those ballots would then become, if they determine that there was a problem, do they throw them all out? Do
Well,
they count them all?
in theory, they could count the envelopes, or with the name and address, and count the total number of ballots, and those should match. Those numbers should match. Right?
Well, that's right. They should. But if you know that you have ballots by way of a mail ballot or an absentee ballot that were counted, that were not appropriate, so therefore all of your absentee stack, you've got bad ballots mixed into all of them. There's no way to differentiate which one is good and which one is bad. What are you going to do? You're going to knowingly count bad ballots, or are you going to kick them all out?
Well, how are you going to pick and choose?
How are you going to pick and choose?
Well, this could be very interesting. Because, look, I mean, there's a margin for error for everything, whether you do hand count, whether it's digital, and let's pretend like the digital, is not manipulated. Either way, there's always going to be a certain percentage, hopefully small, very small percentage, for a margin for error. One vote's going to be, it could go either way.
Could go either way. Thank goodness we don't have problems like that in Bossier. I mean, good grief.
No, at least we didn't go this round.
It's either you're in or you're out. We don't shop.
Right. We don't shop around. And, like I said, my experience, again, with the ladies up in the registrar of voters office and the clerk of court's office with, Jill and Stephanie Agee and all those gals up there, they're very professional and very on top of their game. What other parishes do, I have no idea.
So,
what shall we talk about next?
Our guest that wants to come on is ready whenever we are. Hey, did you know there's a judge's race coming up?
No, I didn't. You mentioned that before we went to the break. So educate me on the judge's race.
I'm just wondering if anybody watching the show, we hadn't really been talking about the comments a whole lot, but did any of y'all know? Did y'all know that we've got a judge's race coming?
Yeah, and when is it coming up?
Well, it's going to be here in the spring, like probably April. Qualifying is next month.
Okay. So they are going to do it. I thought they were trying to throw one into the mix before the spring ballot. So.
No, but qualifying is next month for one coming up right here in the spring. I gotta tell you, I must have been asleep. I don't know, but I hear there's only one candidate. I mean, I'm like, is this the school board 2.0?
One candidate.
Only going to be one application?
What kind of a race is? I mean, I guess if it's uncontested, I mean, are they even going to actually? Well, I guess they have to go through the process of having an election, but why even go through that expense?
Well, I got to tell you, I talked to a lawyer friend of mine, and he said, you know what? If they told me I had to be a judge tomorrow, he said, I'm going to jump off the bridge. Y'all can find me at the bottom. he said, there's no way I'd do it. He's like, that'd be the stupidest thing I ever did.
So who's dropping out? Is it Pitter?
Apparently, he submitted his paperwork in May.
Really?
May.
I do remember reading or somebody sent us something, or maybe you mentioned it, in one of the shows kind of in passing, something about that.
I don't remember that.
I wonder why Pitter's getting out. I wonder if it's a health issue, or is he just ready to retire, or what?
He's been up there in the courthouse, around the DA's office and the indigent defender's office. I mean, he's been up there since the early 90s. Been around a while. He's got his time in, and he's probably ready to just go pick a guitar and be done.
So the question is, do we know who is going to run for the judgeship position?
Well, I can tell you of one of the candidates that is allegedly going to throw their name in the hat. And I will tell you that they have been a guest on this show before.
Oh, I was going to say Juliana Parks, but she wouldn't come on the show.
No, that's not going to happen. But
not yet. She's not through with her stepping stones.
Now, see, I'm having to bite my tongue on that one. I'm playing nice. Y'all are seeing it right now. I'm playing nice. I'm biting my tongue. I'm not saying nothing. But no, the one name that's being kicked around as is going to definitely run has been a guest on this show. In fact, she had been in a race for, I think, the last judge's seat that was open and came up a little short. I think she carried herself well. That race didn't get dirty, yellow stall.
Ah, well, that should be interesting. And look, I'm going to say again, if nobody else qualifies, if she's the only one that qualifies to run, I mean, why even go through the expense of an election? That's kind of silly. Those elections cost us, $20,000-$30,000, the taxpayers. Anyway. All right. Well, that should be interesting. So now that we know that there is a judge's race coming up sometime this spring, what else shall we talk about? Shall we, there's our guest. Hold on just a second, and we will get our guest on. Guest to the rescue. Let me get the screen set up real quick.
Oh, Chris Norris, come on.
Just a second, Mr. Lowry.
We are far from. So I am assuming with our guest, we're going to jump off into Bossier City here, and
yeah. All right. So let me do this and do that. Hello, Mr. Sadow. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
We've got you loud and clear.
Great.
Well, do you have your crystal ball handy?
Yeah, we'll see. Depends on what you're asking.
Well, it would seem that some years ago you kind of called it a little bit. Today's outburst at the Bossier City Council meeting with King David responding to David Crockett brought back some memories to you a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. For those who did not see the meeting, weren't there at the meeting, what happened was at a certain point, Colonel Crockett was making some comments to the council, and Montgomery, a little sarcastically, decided he'd say, well, you know what? You ought to move into Bossier City so you could run for office. You seem to have the answers to everything. That's basically something like that. Colonel Crockett, he pretty much let it roll off his back, but he basically said, well, it's an honor actually to think that I should serve on the council, but it started to escalate from there. And basically what Montgomery ended up saying was that the little people, like him, like us, like I guess anybody there who's not a member of the council, they really didn't know what was going on, at least relative to the counselors themselves. They really had the information. Didn't matter how much you studied the matters at hand. They still were going to know more than you, and so I don't know if you'll show any video of that, but he kind of went off for a couple of minutes on a tangent like that, which kind of reminds you of say you're at a bar somewhere and you're sitting around and there's always this drunk at the end of the bar who has got a comment about everything. Well, that's kind of what it reminded me of. But more to the point, a couple of years ago, speaking of counselors and what they know, about 2.5 years ago, right before the change in administrations, right after elections, during the
Hang on just a second, Jeff. I have that video right here handy.
Oh, great. Let's
Rex,
go for it.
That restream, the 5/4 of 21.
Okay. Yeah, let me pull that up. So hold on just a second. Let me go find it real quick.
Yeah, and we'll play that cut real quick. I was almost going to say that we probably ought to play the David Montgomery cut from today, what Jeff is talking about. We'll shoot that in there first, and then we'll go to the cut that he's talking about in May of 2021. Either way.
So let's go to Queen David today. I've got it marked here. Let's see. Oh, here we go. All right, so we'll jump straight ahead. So let me see. I may have to put us on both screens. I am absolutely not prepared. So hold on just a second, Jeff, and I'll get you back in the screen.
No, I don't look like that.
Not that screen. I'm just not prepared. I am not firing on all cylinders, Duke.
Well,
that's all right.
Hold on, I just about got it here. All right, now we're making progress.
All right, so this one, the one you're going to show is today, and that's what Jeff was just talking about, where King David was responding to Colonel Crockett, and I don't know. I think he was just kind of bowing up to Crockett, or maybe Colonel Crockett got under his skin just a little bit.
Let's see. Let me hit play and let's see if this is the right point here.
One comment. I think, Mr. Crockett, you need to move to the city limits and run for city council.
You know, I've considered it, but I love my house.
Excuse me, I hadn't finished quite, but since you have a handle on how everything ought to be done, that's obvious, that you ought to look into moving into the city and running for city council and changing things as you wish.
Well, I'll take that as a positive, even though it sounds a little bit negative. I love Bossier City. I've lived in this city or around the city for about 15 years. I served my country over here for 3 years at Barksdale Air Force Base. I love this city. I study the budget probably more than the regular public because I am retired. I do have an interest because I do have a master's degree in public administration. And I'm trying to be a gentleman here. I try not to point my finger at specific people and be a gentleman about this, but I hope you just take my comments as constructive.
So in other words, stick it.
Well, that was that comment. And then now let's go to the May of 2021. And, you know, and Jeff, you had pointed out eloquently in an article that you wrote a long time ago about, you know, the point of the council not knowing what they were talking about, or when he what I'm trying to say is when he is dismissive of the public or someone saying you don't know what you're talking about, well, a lot of times the case is they're sitting up there and they don't know what they're talking about. And what you pointed out was he stated facts at this council meeting. You did the research, and well, as it would turn out, that wasn't exactly correct. And it was regarding the Manchac contract, right?
Yep. That meeting was the last time that the contract was renewed, and as we know, that's on the front burner again, and will be the first meeting of next year. Will concern that, but at that time, there was just this general discussion about contracting in general, and not just Montgomery, but a couple of other now departed council members got up there and had something to say about that. But basically, Montgomery said, you know, we're doing a great job here with this contracting arrangement. In fact, you know, again, I'm paraphrasing. You know, I don't know of anywhere else in the state. In fact, I don't even know anywhere else in the South, really, where you have this kind of arrangement where we've got these city services being contracted out. And, you know, the thing is, you don't have to pay a whole lot of attention to Louisiana politics to know that, he just didn't know what he was talking about, because The city of Central, which was formed in about 2005, it's in East Baton Rouge Parish. From the beginning, they went to an entirely, almost totally contracting experience. Almost everything in that government's contracted out. And in fact, not only do they have almost every city service contracted out, so there's just a handful of employees. In fact, just I think the mayor, the police chief, are two of them. They're elected officials. But just about everything. And what they do is in great contrast to Bossier City. They will actually send this out to bid every 3 to 5 years. And in fact, the original contractor is no longer handling that. Instead, a firm called IBTS is now the current contractor for Central. And, just happens to be that IBTS has an office here in Bossier City. I'm sure that if they were contacted about the possibility of contracting the current services that Bossier City contracts out, if they wanted to have a shot at providing them, they'd probably be pretty glad to put in a bid and see what happens. They've got extensive experience, as opposed to Manchac, which this is the only city they've ever done it before. And I think on your program, you've shown a number of incidents where maybe their inexperience didn't provide for the best outcome for the city.
Well, Darby in the mark on that May 4th, 2021 meeting, and Rex, that's where we'll start, is at the 30:05 mark. Darby makes the point that you're making, that the excuse of nobody else can do what you guys are doing. You were not doing this before. We took a chance and a risk with you. What difference is it in doing it with someone else? And let's Darby was eloquent here in this part. Let it roll, Rex.
And here we go.
Yeah, I think, I don't disagree with my co-council member regarding your unique professionalism that you bring to the city as management of the utilities. But I think when you have professional in your field, just like we took a risk on you, there are others out there we could take a risk on if they were to propose what you guys propose. And that's what I've been saying all along. When we chose your company, Mr. Haydell, it was based on a risk. We never had a company do privatization before, so I'm sure there are other management engineering firms who can do what you do. I don't think that would be hard to find. You may not get the bang for the buck that you guys have given us, but I don't think it'd be difficult to find. I think it's out there.
All
right, stop there, Rex.
Comment then.
So he was dead on the money then, and I think he still stands firm in that belief today, because he's not been a pro Manchac fan, but he was right. He was basically articulating what you were saying.
Yeah, sure, and it's common practice in local governments that contract out services to private operators. Very common to have competitive bidding, something like 85-90% do it, and typically for 3 to 10 year contracts. So, why it's not done here again, but again, the old saying from Montgomery, we don't bid.
Yeah, we don't shop around. So let me ask you this, though, Jeff, because I've asked this before on the show, and I don't know if I'm sure the numbers are there. Has anybody analyzed what the city expenditures were for, let's put air quotes around engineering, before Manchac versus now, to see if there's actually a real cost savings? Has anybody done that sort of analysis that you know of?
Not that I know of independently. Now, in the first couple years of the contract, basically around the anniversary, they'd put out press releases that said X number of dollars was saved by doing this, and it may very well be true. But the larger point is, you don't have to be the sole source. If you went to bidding, maybe you'd find someone who could save even more money. We don't know because it hasn't been tried. So
Right.
Manchac may be doing a great job for all we know, but we don't know. We just don't know that.
Well, we just have to take Queen David's word for it. They're saving us
Well,
money and everything's great in La La Land.
well, look, y'all just need to listen to what Queen David has to say. In fact, right here, hit play and let's hear what he has to say about it because he took issue with the other councilman there.
I would challenge you to anyone to tell me where this exists in the state of Louisiana today, number one. And quite honestly, I would challenge you to show me where it exists in another state across the South. It is truly unique in what we were faced with 4 or 5 years ago with a truly deteriorating infrastructure, a deteriorating morale. Certainly, we had twice as many people as we needed in the utility department. We were faced with, help me out here on deficit, $2 million deficit. We were looking at having to raise water rates again, which we certainly want to stay away from that at all costs. We had already raised it several times through the years. And we were able to sit down, brainstorm with Mr. Haydell and Manchac and come up with something that is very unique and that we've worked on through the years to become more and more efficient. The morale has improved. We're now saving $3 million a year. That's net of what we're paying Manchac, by the way, which sometimes seems to go undisclosed. It's always what we're going to pay Manchac, not what we're saving the taxpayers after we pay Manchac. So certainly for the record, we would understand. What would you say that turnaround is, including the fees that we pay Manchac? 5 million?
Since
3 and
inception?
2. We were running 2, now we're saving 3.
All right, so
All right. Yeah, I
Stop.
got to stop it there.
Yeah,
Is that like when your
I can
wife,
only take so much.
is that like when your wife goes shopping and something's on sale, so she buys it even though you don't need it, and she's saving money? Is that kind of the analogy? You don't have to answer that,
Well,
dude, because your wife's watching.
Yeah. Again, though, I think what's indicative here is he had no idea just what this whole idea of contracting was, where it was going on, how much of it was. So, yeah, I mean, so how can, if you don't know something as basic as that, then, it's more difficult to believe that you know about things and know more about them than apparently anybody in the public could know.
And he
You don't have a
challenged,
lot of confidence in that statement.
and he threw the challenge out right
Yep.
there, and you immediately went and did the research, and I shared your Between the Lines article in I believe it was 2021. Actually, it was the next day, I think.
Yeah, the day after.
The day after, and pointed out just what you were talking about earlier about Central as an example.
Yeah. And it wasn't even difficult because any political scientist who's taught any courses in state and local government or urban politics or something like that would know this, how it's a very common phenomenon. But just in terms of the state of Louisiana, I mean, it's, if you pay attention to what's going on around the state, this is something, that you would obviously know. And I would hope that somebody who's in a local government would know these kinds of things, but maybe not.
Now, Christopher James Norris brings up a good, or asks a good question. He says, does anyone know who brought Manchac on board? Who was the person that recommended them? So, yeah, does anybody know how they kind of weaseled their way into this?
Yeah, and again, this is the only time they've done it. This is their first venture into this kind of thing. And to my knowledge, they don't know their city, although I guess they're trying to rope in a few other governments around here to do a little contracting for them, but there's their first one. So, there's something different going on there, how they would suddenly come into the picture, a rookie at doing this, and land a pretty decent sized contract. So yeah, I'd like to know myself.
We may need to dig into that and see what the whole history of Manchac is.
Well, I think they have a history that spans across the bridge that originated in Caddo Parish. And as you recall, there was a company that had some issues over there with water billing and rates that I think ultimately ended up costing the city of Shreveport quite a bit. And I think you will discover the roots started there, and it then ended up in Bossier. But so
yeah, I think you're correct on that, Duke. I remember they were part of the supposed solution to the billing issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
now, Jeff, there were a couple of things like budget wise. I mean, was there anything striking that jumped out at you?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at the revenue picture, 2024 forecast, of course, compared to 2023, we're talking a neighborhood of $3 million fewer coming into the city, largely as a consequence of a rather steep drop in sales taxes. Went down some $5 million. But yet, when we look at expenditures of that budget, at least from the general fund, again, and that's where most city spending, at least on continuing operations, is going to occur. It was only a few $100,000 less than in 2023. So what ended up happening was, to foot the difference, since you had millions less in revenue, was they went and raided these three funds that were set up through the 1991 half-cent sales tax increase. These go to fire operations, street and drainage, and the jail and municipal buildings. And they're intended, at least the way they set the metrics traditionally, is 70% of those dollars are going to go towards operations and maintenance of at least two of those things. You can't do it with streets and drainage, but operations and maintenance of the jail, of other municipal buildings, and for fire services. And then the rest, I don't know what happens to the other part of that. Maybe it's kept or whatever in a typical year. But this year, what happened was, because in order to find extra dollars to make up that deficit, in essence, they went ahead and raided these funds and ended up pulling out basically that difference, $3 million or so dollars, from that, and largely from, as it turns out, the fire operations fund. They basically took all the collections that came in this year and did not leave any of them in that fund, which only has like $1.3 million. So about $3.8 million that they diverted to the general fund to shore that up, which is almost the amount that comes out of the general fund every year, at least recently, around $4 million, to pay for debt, because the city has so much of it, $214 million as of last year, maybe a little lower by the end of this year, of which about $9 million was interest. This is non-enterprise, so then we're not talking about water and sewage and stuff like that. But in other words, for example, this is the money that is going to build the carriageway. So they basically took all that money, which could have gone to, normally speaking, it would stay in the fund and could be used for things like new fire trucks, which the city is having problems getting, in part because of supply issues, but also because they haven't allocated more money to buy more trucks. And so just today in the council, you saw an ordinance passed to shore up the existing fleet, extra $75,000 to keep them going, because they can't get new ones. So, again, there's a big drop in revenue and deficit spending, if you will. It's not. I mean, technically, it's not. It's not debt using to fund this, but they're taking it out of funds that they normally don't take it out of to sustain the general fund. The general fund's got a lot in reserve, 31 million, and they have to keep around 10 million by law to because that's just That's what it is, 15%. They have to keep that in reserve at the very least. So it's a healthy balance, but you don't want to be depleting that if you don't have to. And if things keep going, then maybe next year that's where the money's going to come from. And but the larger point being is that the city, in terms of the money that it comes in for general fund purposes, it ended up spending more than it brought in, or it's budgeting to spend more than it will bring in next year. And that's the kind of thing, for example, that prevents permanent pay raises from being given.
Yeah, we saw that today. They did the well, I guess you would say two-time bonuses.
The bonus.
The bonus in December, and then one whenever they're supposed to vote on it. And, what they say, 60 days or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you when I was a fireman. I mean, in that 1992, I walked the streets, and the thing was I remember it then. It was like, well, if you want a pay raise, you're going to have to get out and you're going to have to get it. And of course, it had all of the other things attached to it, to help pay for other things. So we always made a joke around the firehouse, that we were just the tool of the city to go get taxes passed. And you could never dream as a
0.5%.
Yeah, that's right. But
well, let me ask this, Duke. So this debt load that Bossier City has, I think you said it was what, 200 plus million, 214 million?
214 for the non-enterprise, and it's about the same, a little bit more for the water and sewage and the other enterprise funds.
So that's money that, for the viewers that don't know, correct me or educate me on this, that is money that Bossier City has borrowed, likely through bonds or bond initiatives from the LCDA and that whole process. That's money that they've borrowed that at some point has to be paid back, correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so how does the city pay that back? I mean, are they cutting a check to the LCDA or whoever the bank is that financed that, or how does that, do you know how that process actually works?
Yeah, something like that, because someone underwrote the bonds, and so they have to keep the coupon coming out every year. But of course, there's also a repayment schedule. So something like that is how that works. Yeah, it's about 21 million is budgeted for next year in debt service for the non-enterprise funds. So yeah, that's money that could have been going somewhere else if it wasn't going to a lot of concrete and statues or whatever.
Yeah, statues. Oh, did you know that they lighted the statue? We got a report in that there are lights up on the Tower of Tax Dollars, so we can see it at night.
So there'll be an electric bill as well. Maybe
there will be an electric bill as well. Yeah, right.
Oh, good grief. Well, Jeff, we appreciate it. And, man, anytime you want to come on and break things down for us in detail, I mean, me and Rex just don't dig into I don't know. Maybe we don't have the heart for it anymore.
Or maybe we won't have the stomach for it anymore.
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. No problem. And remember, every vote counts.
Yeah. Every single vote.
You did write an article on that. What was your thoughts on the Whitehorn Nicholson thing?
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. It's great. Us political scientists now makes it easier on us when we're talking about the incentives to vote to our students. And, I don't know what the reactions are when that happens, when you say, well, one reason people vote is because they think their one vote can make the difference. And, there might be a little skepticism normally among the student body, but no, I've got a good example. I got an example, 43,000 plus votes, where one vote apparently at this point making a difference. If Whitehorn pulls it out, there's a very simple reason why. If you look at the precincts that have a large proportion of black registrants, and I define that as at least 70%, and you look at those compared to in the primary or the general election 5 weeks ago, turnout in those precincts was up 1.5% over that, whereas overall turnout fell about 6%. So
Very
kind of a,
interesting.
yeah, that's the difference right there. Why you could go from being 10 points down, and adding up all the votes of Republicans in that contest, um, equaling 56%. You would think that Nicholson could have done it at that point, but the only way that that was not going to happen is if you could boost your turnout and hope the other guy didn't boost his as much, and he didn't. That turnout was down close to 10%. If subtracting out those kinds of precincts, so yeah, that's
You
what
don't
did it. Very and not
you don't think
unprecedented in Shreveport politics.
yeah, you don't think Nicholson's baggage as a councilman drug him down? I mean, I
Oh,
just I
I don't know because yeah, I mean it. Gun control ordinances, attempts, and the like. That may have turned off a few people. There may have been probably more though. Would be that he has no law enforcement background. Now, the sheriff does a lot of other things in law enforcement. It's largely an administrative job, but still there's that symbolism, and so I would think that that would have been something that would cost him too. Um, Frankly, when I saw the results in the general election, and he had 45%, 10 points ahead of Whitehorn, I was impressed. I thought, wow, he really ran this well. And of course, I'm sure outgoing Sheriff Steve Prater's endorsement didn't hurt him anyway. That probably got a few people out voting for him. But it in the back of my mind, I was thinking even then. See, I was thinking of the 2006 mayoral election in Shreveport, just to bring people back. The city attorney then, Jerry Jones, who maybe could be hired here, maybe. Jerry Jones led into the primary. I think he had 46% of the vote over Cedric Glover, who was well behind, probably about the same margin as I recall that Whitehorn was behind. But when election day came, Cedric won. I think 52-48 is what it was. And same thing. You looked at the precincts, and he jacked up turnout. I think something like 6% in those precincts that were highly disposed to vote for him, at least in the general election. And Jones, didn't had a drop in his, and that was a difference right there. So interesting how that dynamic played itself out again. Apparently, I mean, lots can happen, as you guys pointed out. You've got all sorts of mail ballots, maybe that could come in. I expect the ones that were local come in yesterday and today, and then the overseas, I don't know if any are going to come in there, but they're going to change the result, as you all pointed out. And of course, then there's the simple counting and going back, and we're talking about 43,000 votes plus. It seems unlikely to me that there wasn't a counting error here and there. So this is going to be interesting. It could go either way. Just a lot of variables out there at this point.
All right. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Jeff. Anything else you want to get out there, numbers wise or whatever? Just let us know.
Yeah. All right. Great. Yeah. Keep it up.
Well, we're gonna
thank you, sir.
continue.
Appreciate it,
we'll
Jeff.
continue rambling on. Here we go.
Sure.
All right. So I was just looking up, and Jeff's a great guy, especially on the numbers and stuff like that. He knows them pretty much upside and down. The recount for the Whitehorn Nicholson race is set for Monday, November 27th. I'm reading that on Channel 12's website right now.
Well, you know what? I don't think I'm going to go over there and watch that.
You're not? It would be
I
like watching paint dry.
less. I could care less. But I will tell you, look, if you guys, if you're in Caddo, or if you deal with somebody that lives in Caddo, and if they start griping, I did this today. If they start griping about government in any way, you say, "Well, did you vote?"
Yeah.
Well, you're the reason.
Yeah, literally.
Lost. It's your fault.
Yeah, exactly correct. All right. So, what else shall we talk about tonight?
I don't know. I was trying to look at the notes.
I mean,
are we gonna? Oh, I know, the Charter Commission.
Oh yeah, how can we forget that? Yeah, let's go back to our replay. Let me get that cue back up.
Yeah. So they've got a list of names. A lot of y'all may not realize this, but they have a list of names, and they've got this charter commission thing going to start rolling.
Now, I wonder why they could be trying to set up a charter commission. Are they just wanting to review the charter and, make sure all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted?
I don't know. But I mean, something tells me that the citizens took it upon themselves to start amending the charter and do their job for them. And they said, well, hey, wait a minute. We got to shut this down. We can't let the citizens amend the charter.
Those pesky citizens.
So I won't be shocked to learn that they're going to end up they're going to end up trying to take away the citizens' voice to petition. Yeah, that's right. Y'all heard me.
I wouldn't doubt that either. So the rights that we have in the charter right now to do these petitions and all that, for instance, with the Bossier Term Limits Coalition and all that, I think you're correct, Duke. You said it on Tuesday, November the 21st at 8:05 or 8:06 p.m. They're going to try to take more rights away from the citizens.
Now, the $1 million question for all of y'all is, who are the appointees from the councilman and the mayor to the charter commission? Who did they all pick?
Good question. Let's see. Shall I bring that up on the screenshot?
Yeah, sure. If you got it.
Yeah, I can get it here, and bear with me just a second. So, yeah, ramble on for a minute, and let me get this set up.
Well, so of all of these names, they've got to have a little process where I think all the councilmen can vote to approve or not approve, the members of the charter commission and cite reasons or what have you. And in fact, in this council meeting today, Colonel Crockett, even got up there and spoke to one issue or potential conflict of one of the names that was to be appointed. And there is the list of names that were submitted for appointment to the charter commission.
So when did they come up with these names? How do they come up with that? Did they do it through email or call themselves? I wonder how they did that process.
I think probably, and I don't know this for sure, I think probably the way that they did it, they all submitted a name to Phyllis, and probably Phyllis stayed on them, bulldogging them to get your name submitted. And, there's your names. You've got number 1, Shane Cheatham; 2, Preston Friedley; 3, Lee Jeter; 4, David Johnson; 5, Sandra Morehart; 6, Juliana Parks; 7, Pandorina Sumas; 8, Vicky Whitman; and Lisa Wilhite. Now, those names may not be spelled correctly on some of those, but the question is for the guesses for all of y'all, who picked which people?
Yeah,
that's the $1 million question. This will be fun watching the comments and y'all trying to figure out who picked who.
Yeah, I wonder if it specifies in the charter if the charter commission members have to actually be a resident of the city. Probably does.
I think that they do. That they do. And in today's meeting, one of the things that Colonel Crockett was pointing out was that Councilman Williams and Councilman Darby picked people that are not in their district, and that therefore their district is in essence going unrepresented.
Yeah, so let's hear. I've got it queued up to where Phyllis reads the charter review deal, and then Colonel Crockett will be up there. So let's let him do the talking.
Introduce an ordinance to establish a Citizens Charter Review Commission for the purpose of revising Bossier City's Home Rule Charter. First reading.
So move.
Second.
First by Councilman Darby, second by Councilman Montgomery. The comments from the audience.
They got a second on that motion pretty quick, didn't they?
I told you that last time.
Next time I will sit up front. David Crockett, 653 Dumaine Drive, Bossier City, Louisiana. I'm excited about the idea of considering changes for the city organization, and who knows what the process is going to entail. But I am a little bit disappointed with the way it turned out. It appears that both Mr. Darby and Mr. Williams do not have anybody nominated from their district. That's a little bit disturbing in my mind. They nominated apparently people from outside their district. That's very disappointing. I think some of the other issues of concern, we've got a spouse of a city marshal, a spouse of a judge who actually sits on the police jury. That should be a concern to the public. Do we need our police jury running the police jury and the city? That should be a conflict of interest in and of itself. The police jury itself has a propensity to do dual office holding. They have taken over the police jury or the library board for the parish. I would think that with 68,000 people living in Bossier City, that there are plenty of people who are well qualified, and if you don't get people from all the districts, I think you're going to, the people will suffer and you won't be represented. Right. And so I think that for the general public to understand, in addition to the people that are supposed to be nominated, 1 per city councilman, 2 for the mayor, the city attorney and the CAO both sit in those meetings. I look forward to it. I would love to have some answers about what the process is going to entail. You know, are you going to consider other forms of government? You know, I have a master's degree in public administration, and one of the really amazing things is that you've got somebody who does have a master's degree in public administration sitting on the group, and I think that'll be beneficial. I hope there's some earnest brainstorming in the beginning about some things you can do to look at the best form of government for the kind of city council and mayor led government that we have in Bossier City. I think it's really important to consider things like Sugar Land, Texas. Somebody should study that as a model. I think it's a mayor-president form of government. There are a whole lot of different things you could do that in the long run Bossier City would benefit from in the long run if you're going to do that. I think the other things that should be considered, I like councilmen at large, but I think there are negatives with that, but I think that ought to be considered. I really admire some of the people that have been appointed to do this, and I think it'll be a worthwhile process. But I do think that the public ought to be, I know it asks in the ordinance for the agenda things or things to consider in the changes to the city charter, but I think it ought to be broader and include broad brainstorming and new ideas. Thank you.
Now,
Mr. Crockett,
I want to stop it right there for a second. So the first thing, I can already tell the colonel why they don't want to look at Sugar Land, Texas, or anywhere else for that matter, because we're setting the model over here in how to run a city with Manchac. I mean, you heard Queen David basically state that when we played the video from 2021. We're setting the standard over here.
I mean, look, it's just like a voting machine, you know, as long as you ain't got a modem, you're good.
Yeah.
Run
Now,
away.
Everybody listen closely to Bubba Don right here in this commentary, in this exchange.
One thing again, you have no idea if any of these guys and myself, which I did, asked people in our district that, you know, they work, don't have time, they do other things, you know. It's not going to take that much time, I understand. You know, I think last time was 18 months. They met every other week, something like that. But there was people asked that just didn't want to do it.
Well, I mean, I would love to just engage on that. Maybe not doing it with 2 weeks, but announcing it like you've done. Maybe table it until you have time to get somebody. But I will guarantee you that there are volunteers. And if we get enough, now that we know that there aren't people from those 2 districts, give people time. You know, delay, get the right person in there. But it's just an idea.
Yeah, I understand that. And again, we had more than 2 weeks, you know, to find someone.
What's the timeline issue right now that we know that you didn't find somebody? You know, the public, it wasn't publicized in the paper. We don't get press. Maybe, that's something that the mayor could have done to have done
First
a
I'm
press
hearing
release
about it.
on this. That's a major
Yeah.
failure,
No.
I think, for the.
Well, I mean, the thing is here, they actually they had a council meeting. They talked about they were calling the charter commission. There was debate, and you know, everybody. I mean, you can't say you didn't know, and people can't say they didn't know because they talked about it at the council meeting. I mean, I remember the council meeting, and if someone had
Wait a
an
minute.
interest,
I'm confused though, because I don't
okay,
remember them calling for a new council meeting. But again, I've had a
calling
lot of
for
other, or
a
calling
new
for a new.
council.
I'm sorry, calling for a new charter commission. When did they actually call for that charter
Yeah,
commission?
it was some meeting. It was some meetings back. Yeah, they did it. They had the meetings and they called for it. And now, could they? And to the colonel's point, and I think what the colonel is trying to say, and I agree with him. Should they have publicized it? In the journal of record that we're seeking residents who are willing or wish to serve on. Yeah, I think they should have. I mean, because while Bubba Don says that he did ask for folks that live in his district or whether or not they'd be willing to serve, and he couldn't find anybody. I mean, did they publicize it? Did they advertise to people that may have missed the one or two council meetings that they talked about a charter commission? I mean, if they didn't watch this show or they didn't know Bubba or one of them individually to talk to, they wouldn't know. They'd have no idea if they
That's
didn't
true.
advertise it.
And look, our good friend Michael Ferris says, come on, Duke, there are what, 13 people in that council meeting. But I will say this also, that the numbers of people watching the council meeting on YouTube has been increasing. Now, again, it's not that many people, so I get the point that that Ferris is trying to make there. I just don't. I don't remember them talking about they were going to go ahead and initiate a charter commission, but I could very well be wrong. Maybe I was asleep.
Yeah, you would remember it. I mean, I think we've got it saved in one of our folders, but they definitely talked about it. We talked about it on the show, and yeah, that I'm more interested in the names that were picked and the names of the people that they have picked. And in this commentary here, I think Bubba or even I think it was Bubba, they go on to say that their intentions are to complete this charter commission before the start of the next term. They're hell bent on getting this charter commission done by the start of the next term. And you started this discussion out and dialogue by saying, well, why all of a sudden are they hell bent on having a charter commission? Well, it's because we, the people, went and, passed a term limits petition to amend the charter that they fought tooth and nail. So now, in an attempt to try to stop us, we're doing 3 more petitions since they're fighting us on that one. My gut says is that they're going to try to. They may put the original term limits language into the charter commission thing, but then they also put a red pill in there, and the red pill being something like removing the right of the citizens to petition to change or amend the city charter. So they'll give you your term limits, but it's going to cost you. You're going to have to give up your ability to be able to petition. There will be something that will then make you have to vote against term limits. And then they're going to run out there and say, see, the public didn't support term limits. They really didn't want it. That's what they're going to do. Or I'll give you one even better, Rex. Or they're going to play the race card. They're going to say, oh, if you do this, you're going to give a minority another district, or you're going to do that, or you're going to do this to motivate people to go one way or the other, to vote against or for something so that they can then use it against you. That's what's going to happen. And allegedly, that's what happened before in the last time there was a charter commission in Bossier.
That could be very interesting this go round. Hopefully. What is the process? Do you know off the top of your head because I know you've studied a little bit, for the people being nominated for the charter commission to actually be selected? Does the city council have to vote on them, or do the councilman and the mayor just automatically get their nominations?
Well, here's where the rub comes in is I think the council meets and they vote to approve or disapprove of the names submitted to the charter commission. So if you look on that list and what Colonel Crockett walked up there and pointed out, let's go back to that list. So Shane Cheatham, well, you know, the Queen, Bubba Williams, all of they went full bore to prevent Shane Cheatham from being the CAO. You think they're going to let him be on this? I mean, come on. And some people I think posted it on here already. I think Tommy Chandler nominated Shane Cheatham to be on there. I'm pretty sure, confident that was the case. But I'm confident, the Queen team is going to fight Shane Cheatham. They're going to probably vote and try to prevent him from being on there. Preston Friedley, that was Chris Smith's pick. I think that is his father-in-law. And when Colonel Crockett was speaking to someone with a business or a finance degree or their level of education, I think he was talking in regards to Preston Friedley. He has a history in public government, and I'm sure that would be beneficial. Lee Jeter, well known in the community. I'm pretty confident that was a Tommy Chandler pick. Lee was supportive of the Term Limits Coalition and was on top of it. David Johnson, South Bossier activist. He's been a supporter of this show as well as, has been active in the term limits effort, and a businessman, the successful business person who I think is worthy of being on there. Now, Sandra Morehart, and I'm not 100% sure on this one, but here's where my questions start. Sandra Morehart, is that related to Travis Morehart of the CPA firm that does all of the stuff for the city?
Well, he does the stuff for the parish. He does it for the Cypress district, and who knows what else. But yeah, that's very interesting. I was thinking that might be the case, but I don't know. I'll have to Google it, see if I can figure out.
I don't know. I mean, is that a conflict if your husband has a monetary interest in the city? I mean, maybe if you're trying to amend the charter that, you give the CPA firm that had the business for the last year double their pay every year for the next 30 years, and they have the contract no bid for 100 years. Yeah, I think you got a conflict, but who knows if she'll do that. Juliana Parks, that one kind of speaks for itself, but I will say Colonel Crockett raised an issue that raised my eyebrow, and I had not considered when he talked about the dual office holding. Now, you and I both know, and everybody
this
knows
would be
that,
triple office holding.
is that triple office? Well, no. I mean, the police jury people, they thumb their nose at dual office holding. They could care less. And, is it valid on the library board? I don't know. I think it's one of those deals until a judge rules on it. And maybe you're not 100% going to know for sure one way or the other. But I don't know if that's dual office holding or not for her to be on the police jury and then is going to sit on the governing board of the Bossier City Council deciding their city charter. Could there be a conflict arise there? I mean, what if she tries to, or what if an issue regarding contracts between the city and the parish come up? I mean, is she going to vote on it? Is she going to?
That's interesting. But look, but I got to say, like Jeff Free points out, she's the citizen of Bossier City. But again, I think it goes back to the appearance thing, whether it's actually dual, and I guess there's no real statute for triple office holding, so she could go ahead and do this. But it goes back to the appearance of it. You know, it just doesn't look all that great. And I would say that whether it's Juliana Parks or whether it's any other police juror for that matter.
Yeah, so the Pandorina Sumas, no idea who that is. I don't know anything about them. I understand she has a public volunteer history in the community. I understand that she lives in Jeff Free's district, not in one of the districts that we suspect she was appointed by, which she lives in the city, so that's that. Vicky Whitman, wife of Jim Whitman, the city marshal. Is that a conflict? What if issues pertaining to the funding of the marshal's office are decided?
Right. And then Lisa Wilhite, I wonder if that's the same Wilhite as the appointee to the Cypress district. Not that that would be a huge conflict, but still.
Yeah, I don't know. Or Tim Wilhite, who allegedly is big buddies with David Montgomery and is an attorney who has been said to consider running for mayor against Tommy Chandler. Don't know.
All right. So let's jump back over to the meeting real quick, because there's a couple of little quotes that I want to get in before we kind of start wrapping up the show. First is Colonel Crockett's quote here that he comes prepared better than some council members.
Mr. President, I just want to make a comment, if you give me a chance to answer that. I think I come to this meeting sometimes more prepared than the council members do. I come and I've studied every budget that you guys have done. So, I mean, I'm not going to take offense to it. I really think it's kind of rude, but I've been treated kind of rough by this council from time to time. But I think with a freedom of speech complaint by this against this council, I don't think that those things are very constructive, Mr. President. I think for somebody to criticize probably the most educated person who comes here and talks to the council and take offense from that, just because I do pay my water taxes here, I pay sales tax, I don't buy one thing in Shreveport. I probably pay more taxes in Bossier City than the average citizen here because of my income. I'm very grateful for that. So, you can be as negative as you want, Mr. Montgomery, but I think I'm pretty prepared.
Thank you.
Drop the mic. And then finally, let's stomach through Queen David's First Amendment speech. Arguably, this might be one of the greatest speeches he's ever given, except in support of Manchac. Here we go.
I wanted to, I respect your right to move on, but I will point out that each person in this room, across the city, you have every right to free speech. There's no one impeding that free speech. The second thing I would like to note is that each of these councilmen up here has the right to free speech as well. And when we feel as though something is being said that is misrepresentative or incorrect, we have every right to question what that individual's saying. We have the same right that each of y'all have. And there's nothing wrong with us exercising that right. And to cast it upon us being negative towards someone, when are we supposed to say something? I mean, we're trying to do this in the most respectful manner possible. And that is what
that's debatable.
I believe truly our oath of office that we are duly appointed to do. If we have an opinion and we've taken action, we have a right to defend that action. We have a right to defend what we've done and the decisions we've made, and we have a right to clarity to what's being said. So I will fight for that
here wondering,
until the day that
I don't recall him condemning death by Zamboni.
Right. He didn't.
I don't remember him condemning that.
Right. And how many times has he point ordered somebody? I mean, here's the deal. He does have a little bit of a point that they have the right to defend themselves or explain, if a speaker comes up there. But remember what Phyllis reads every meeting, and Queen David himself has had her repeat it multiple times during meetings, that you're only supposed to address the chair of the council or the president of the council. You're not supposed to address the other members. You're not supposed to ask questions. I mean, you can, but they don't have to answer them. And Queen David can interject and interrupt you during your 3 minutes, but you can't do the opposite. And so that's why this is the most hypocritical, dumbassery thing he could possibly say. Excuse my language.
Well, he's just got to get it all out of his system. I'm just going to say it like this. That guy needs an enema worse than anybody I know.
Yes. I should have had the Jack Nicholson deal pulled up. This town needs an enema. From Batman.
No doubt. No doubt.
Well. So, anyway, with that said, now that we've gone into the sewer literally for enemas.
Look, there's a lot cooking. I understand there is another lawsuit imminent, and that we will be reporting on pretty soon.
Are we getting sued?
Not us.
Dadgummit.
I
We
don't
gotta
know.
try harder.
I don't know how, but I mean, we're not. But Bossier City, they're getting sued again. Oh,
wait, I gotta point this out. Can you imagine for a minute us getting sued and some attorneys advising us that we don't need to discuss the case at all?
Yeah,
I mean, how would that even work?
Or I have no idea. Isn't that something that's happening right now?
Well, I don't know. Anybody play a real lawyer on Facebook or anything? Give us some legal advice here in the comments. How would that even work? I mean, are we bound by law to not discuss a case? Do we have to do it? I guess if we don't do what the judge says, we could be in contempt of court, but whatever, that's fine.
Well, I was just thinking about, like the public information request that we sent for the gag order or whatever it is that the city claims about the Link Coleman thing. Remember that public information request I filed? It's got to be.
It's been a long. I was going to say it's a long time ago. It's kind of fading from memory at this point, but
he even sent a follow-up request to the mayor's office, who is the custodian of records, and to Charles Jacobs, and still not a peep, not even a response.
Yeah. Our good friend who does play a lawyer at the city council meetings too, Weston Marriott, says you can 100% discuss it, but the discussion can be used against you. Well, I don't think we'd have to worry about that because everything we've discussed for the past, 3 seasons or 4, what are we in, our 4th year or whatever. Anyway, yeah, all that could be used against us. So.
Yeah, you know what, Andy? Uneducated voters, I think you're right, but I will say I think the needle is being moved. I think people it's not enough. It's not near enough, but I think the needle is moving. I think people are becoming educated. They're paying attention. Who knew that people would, there's over 70 people right now watching this show, listening to us talk about stupid Bossier City politics.
Right. And it's been mostly Bossier City for months now. They've got to get their act together so we can turn our attention to the parish again and somebody.
Yeah, one application for the superintendent of the school board, the second largest employer in Bossier Parish, and only one person applies to be the superintendent. We ain't even dug into that. Haven't even been on it.
Right. Because of the stupid city council. Dadgummit, Queen David, shut your mouth. Well,
I just wish Bossier City would get their crap together. That way we can move on.
Yep. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. My stomach is growling. It is 8:34. We have had some pretty good numbers this week. The number count is back where it's supposed to be, so we appreciate everybody watching. And you got anything else you want to talk about?
Well, like I said, I understand there is a lawsuit imminent, and we can't say nothing about it until it happens. It may not happen, but I'm pretty confident that it is. And, I think we're going to be reporting on that in the short term. Now, next Tuesday, I'm supposed to be at a meeting in Baton Rouge. It's going to be kind of weird. We're going to figure this out.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. We'll either pre-record it or, well, maybe you can just go live from the meeting. Is it a public meeting?
No.
You don't have to answer that.
No, it's not a public meeting.
Hi, I'm Duke Lowry. We're live.
Yeah, no, I will no longer be in the meeting. Anyway, that's all I got. I appreciate everybody watching tonight, and I know Rex does too. So, what else, Rex? We're rambling.
Oh, that's about it. Hey, your wife's got an idea. She says she could maybe fill in for you.
She could tell everybody anything she could tell anybody everything they wanted to know about mortgages. Everything.
Yeah, we'll just have the mortgage show.
Girl.
Yeah. Bossier Watch, the mortgage show. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody watching. We've had 70, 80 something people watching pretty much off and on tonight. So we appreciate all of you, even though we didn't have a whole lot to talk about. I would encourage y'all to go watch the Bossier City Council meeting because, we didn't play all of it. And there was some boring discussion, but some interesting stuff. So go check that out. And I guess we'll figure out.
And Chris Norris, I want to jump in and say, hey, I do care about Shreveport. I said, about that race. I said I don't care. Well, that's really not true. I really do care because what affects y'all affects us. I really do care. But look, I'm focused like a laser beam on Bossier. We got enough of our own problems over here, and we can't even freaking fix them over here. I mean, I just can't focus on y'all's problem. If we get things straightened out over here, we'll get over there. I promise. But we got to get it straight over here first.
I agree. All right. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Val Baker says happy Thanksgiving. Lynette says happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Happy Turkey Day and Thanksgiving to you, Mr. Lowry. One of the things I'm thankful for is we have a platform where every Tuesday night we can get on here and just ramble about what we want.
Amen to that. And thanks for everybody who watches us and sends us information. I mean, if you didn't participate and you didn't send us information, I mean, we'd have boring shows every week and nobody would be watching. What would you do?
It would just be even more boring than it already is. Okay. All right. We're out of here. All right. See y'all later, folks.